He felt the tremor in his own hands before he realized his daughter was watching. The cafe was warm with the smell of roasted beans and soft music drifting through the hum of conversation, but inside him, everything was shaking like a storm had wrapped itself around his ribs. His little girl tugged his sleeve, her big curious eyes lifting toward his face with disarming innocence. "Daddy, why are you nervous? Do you like her?" And in that single, honest question, the secret he had carried for months was suddenly exposed under a light he could no longer hide from. He swallowed, trying to calm the heartbeat pounding against his chest. Across the room, the woman who had unknowingly changed his life laughed softly with a customer, her smile warm enough to melt winter itself. He wished he could look away, pretend he wasn't affected, but every time he tried, his eyes betrayed him. It wasn't just attraction, it was everything he had lost and everything he feared wanting again. There was a time he had promised himself he would never love anyone after his wife died. He remembered those days clearly, dark, quiet, filled with the heavy emptiness of a home with one less heartbeat. Grief didn't fade in a straight line, it bent and twisted, tripping him on random afternoons, stealing sleep on nights he desperately needed it. For years, he lived only for his daughter. She was the reason he woke up, the reason he worked, the reason he kept breathing even when every breath felt like it scraped against broken glass. But something changed the first day he walked into this cafe. It was supposed to be an ordinary morning. He only wanted a cup of coffee to survive a long shift. Then she appeared, gentle voice, sunlit hair, tired but kind eyes, and for the first time in years, he felt a warmth he didn't trust. It scared him enough to avoid coming back for weeks, but life has a strange way of bringing the right people into our lives whether we're ready or not. His daughter tugged him again, whispering louder this time, and the flush on his cheeks deepened. He wanted to explain his fear, but how do you explain to an 8-year-old what it means to lose love and then be terrified to find it again? How do you explain the guilt of liking someone when you promised your heart would stay loyal to a memory? He looked down at her, her hair messy from the morning rush, her backpack slipping off her shoulders, her smile bright even though she didn't fully understand the ache inside him. She wasn't just observing him, she was rooting for him. Kids see truths adults bury. They see hope where grown-ups see risk. And in her innocent question, she had unknowingly opened a door he had kept shut far too long. He inhaled slowly and guided her to their usual table by the window. It was their spot, small, round, with a view of the street that always made his daughter daydream about the world outside. He waited for his breathing to settle, hoping it would, but the moment the barista looked up and their eyes met, the tremor returned. She waved softly, and he smiled back, but inside he felt like a man pulled between the past and a future he wasn't sure he deserved. His daughter leaned her chin on her palms, watching him with a mischievous grin that only kids who know something grown-ups don't can pull off. She whispered again, this time with excitement instead of curiosity. "You really like her." He couldn't deny it anymore. Not to her, not to himself. The barista walked over with their drinks, the same order she remembered every week, hazelnut latte for him, chocolate milk for his daughter. She always remembered. That small kindness meant more to him than she realized, because it wasn't just service, it was attention. It was care, and care was something he hadn't let himself receive from anyone outside his family in a long time. He thanked her, trying to sound casual, but his voice cracked slightly. She didn't comment on it. Instead, she smiled with the softness of someone who had learned to read emotions without needing explanations. She was gentle like that, never prying, never pushing, but always present in a way that felt safe. Days passed, then weeks, and their visits to the cafe became part of their life. He didn't plan it that way. It just happened, like routines often do when the heart quietly seeks comfort. The barista started talking to him more. First about the weather, then about books, then about childhood memories and dreams they both thought they had outgrown. Her kindness wasn't loud or dramatic. It was consistent, patient, steady, a warmth he had forgotten existed. But with every new conversation, guilt gnawed at him. Loving again felt like betraying his past. He feared that moving forward meant disrespecting the woman he lost. He feared his daughter would forget her mother if another woman entered their life. He feared happiness because happiness could disappear without warning, leaving him shattered all over again. The barista didn't know his story. Not yet. She didn't know about the nights he stayed awake staring at old pictures. She didn't know how terrified he was of hurting someone new because he didn't trust himself to protect a heart when he barely managed to hold his own together. But she sensed his hesitation. She sensed the weight he carried. One evening, as the cafe was closing, she asked him gently if everything was okay. Not romantically, not suggestively, just with genuine human concern. He wanted to tell her. He wanted to pour out everything he had been holding inside. But the words got stuck somewhere between fear and vulnerability, and instead he simply nodded, pretending he was fine. She didn't push. That night, though, her question followed him home. He tucked his daughter into bed, cleaned the dishes, and sat alone on the sofa with a silence that felt heavier than usual. He thought about the question his daughter had asked earlier. "Daddy, why are you nervous?" It wasn't nervousness. It was longing mixed with guilt. The next day, as they walked toward the cafe, he felt his daughter reach for his hand. She squeezed it quietly, as if she knew he needed something steady to hold onto. For a moment, he wondered if maybe children carried more wisdom than adults ever realized. Inside the cafe, something felt different. The barista looked tired, not exhausted, but emotionally drained in a way that made her usual warmth dimmer. She served the customers quickly, her smile present but weaker. When she reached their table, she apologized for being slow even though she had done nothing wrong. Her hands shook ever so slightly, a detail most people would miss but he didn't, not anymore. After she left, he felt a tug inside him. A pull, a need to understand. His daughter whispered again, "Daddy, she looks sad today. You should talk to her." He promised himself he wouldn't get involved. He promised he wouldn't open the doors of his heart again. But watching her shoulders slump as she wiped down another table, he realized the truth. He wasn't afraid of loving someone new. He was afraid of letting someone love him. Because receiving love meant opening wounds that had barely healed. Taking a deep breath, he stood. His daughter gave him a tiny thumbs up, trying hard not to giggle, and he walked toward the counter. He asked if she was okay, and this time, she didn't hide behind her smile. Maybe it was the sincerity in his voice, or maybe she had been waiting for someone, anyone, to ask with genuine care. She admitted she was struggling. Not in dramatic ways, but in real, human ways: financial stress, loneliness, the exhaustion of trying to stay strong when life felt too heavy. He listened, really listened, and for the first time in years, he felt something shift. He wasn't the only one hurting. He wasn't the only one scared. He wasn't the only one trying to rebuild life from pieces. Their conversations grew deeper, slowly, gently, carefully. And his daughter, she became the bridge neither of them knew they needed. She adored the barista, her kindness, her patience, the way she always drew little smiley faces on the girls' napkins. Children sense genuine hearts. She sensed hers. One rainy afternoon, the cafe was quieter than usual. The world outside looked washed in silver, and the warm glow inside felt almost magical. His daughter was coloring at their table, humming softly, while he sat across from the barista during her break. The soft rain made it easier to talk, easier to confess things that had been locked away. He told her about his wife, about the ache that never fully left, about the guilt that kept him from letting anyone close. His voice trembled, but his honesty steadied him. She didn't flinch, she didn't retreat, she simply rested her hand over his for a brief moment, a gesture so small yet so deeply comforting it nearly brought him to tears. She told him she didn't want to replace anyone. She didn't want to take anything away. She only wanted to understand him, to walk beside him, not overwrite his past. Something in him broke open. Something he had kept guarded for too long. From that day forward, things didn't become perfect, but they became possible. He started smiling more, laughing more, letting himself feel emotions without fighting them. And slowly, the guilt that once felt like chains began to loosen. But the real turning point came weeks later, at the same cafe where everything began. They were sitting together near closing time. His daughter was drawing hearts on napkins, giggling and throwing glances between them. The barista looked at him with a warmth that wasn't rushed, wasn't forced. It was a warmth earned through months of patience, understanding, and quiet connection. His daughter suddenly asked him the question he had once feared more than anything. "Daddy, do you love her?" He froze. The barista looked away, as if giving him space to answer without pressure. The entire room felt suspended in silence. He thought about the life he had lost, the pain he had endured, the memories he still cherished. But he also thought about the woman sitting across from him, the one who had revived something inside him he thought had died forever. He looked at his daughter, the person who had witnessed his lowest moments and still believed he deserved happiness. She wasn't afraid of him loving again.